Let's talk about the Super Puma, a true titan of the skies. Think of it as the Land Rover Defender of helicopters. Tough, versatile, and built for the hardest jobs. When you need to ferry a dozen people to a remote oil rig in rough seas, you send the Super Puma. It's designed for one thing, getting the job done, no matter the weather. With two powerful engines, it offers a huge safety margin. If one fails, the other gets you home. It's big, carrying up to 19 passengers plus gear, making it efficient for moving crews. It's like a flying minibus that can land on a tiny, bobbing platform in the ocean. The Super Puma has serious range, flying hundreds of miles without refueling, crucial for offshore work. Advanced avionics help pilots fly safely in terrible visibility and high winds. It's a stable, reliable platform, built for the world's toughest environments. For decades, it was the king of offshore transport, the backbone of the industry. If you worked on an oil rig, you probably flew on a Super Puma. It was trusted, respected, and seemed unstoppable. But every great story has a dramatic twist. The Super Puma's reign was about to face a crisis. What could possibly go wrong with such a workhorse? The answer would shake the industry to its core. In its prime, the Super Puma was the gold standard for offshore transport. Energy companies needed a reliable way to move people and equipment far out to sea, and the Super Puma delivered. Its blend of speed, capacity, and all-weather capability made it the default choice worldwide. One Super Puma could do the work of two smaller helicopters: fewer flights, less fuel, more efficiency. It wasn't just for oil rigs. It lifted heavy equipment, performed search and rescue, and served as an air ambulance. Its versatility made it a favorite for governments and private companies alike. Pilots loved its advanced autopilot and forgiving handling, especially in rough weather. For years, its safety record was exemplary. Offshore workers trusted it to bring them home. The Super Puma was part of offshore culture until a hidden flaw changed everything. No one saw the storm coming. April 1, 2009. A Super Puma S-332L2 was flying back from a BP oil platform with 16 people on board. It was a routine flight, clear weather, just miles from the Scottish coast. Suddenly, disaster struck. The helicopter fell from the sky. Investigators zeroed in on the main rotor gearbox, the heart of any helicopter. A critical component, the planetary gear, had shattered from metal fatigue. The cause? A tiny metallic particle left inside during manufacturing, which led to catastrophic failure over time. The main rotor separated from the helicopter, sealing the fate of everyone on board. The entire Super Puma fleet was grounded. The industry was shaken. Could this happen again? The technical term was a spalling-initiated fatigue fracture, a small flaw with deadly consequences. 16 lives lost, and the Super Puma's reputation was in crisis. The trust that took decades to build was gone in an instant. The question now haunted the industry: was the Super Puma truly safe? The answer would take years and more tragedy to uncover. The nightmare was just beginning. The troubles didn't end in 2009. In 2012, two Super Puma EC-225S ditched in the North Sea after gearbox warning lights. Everyone survived, but the pattern was alarming. Investigators found cracks in a welded shaft inside the gearbox, causing oil to leak out and forcing emergency landings. Airbus redesigned the shaft and added an emergency lubrication system, giving pilots extra time to land safely if oil was lost. These fixes were smart, but the damage to the Super Puma's reputation was immense. Offshore workers grew anxious. The name Super Puma became linked with fear, not reliability. Even with new safety systems, suspicion lingered. The fleet was grounded again and confidence was shaken. The industry hoped the worst was over, but the Super Puma's darkest day was still to come. The helicopter was now flying under a cloud of doubt. Could it ever regain trust? The next disaster would answer that question. The stakes had never been higher. April 29, 2016. Disaster struck again. A Super Puma H-225 flying from the Gullfaks B oil field to Bergen, Norway, suffered a catastrophic failure. Witnesses saw the main rotor detach in mid-air. The helicopter crashed, killing all 13 on board. The crash echoed the 2009 tragedy, but this time it was the newer, supposedly improved model. Investigators found the same culprit, a failed planetary gear in the main gearbox. This time, the failure was due to subsurface fatigue. Tiny, invisible cracks deep inside the metal. The gear looked fine on the outside but was a ticking time bomb. Authorities in Norway and the UK grounded all Super Puma H-225S indefinitely. The Turøy disaster was the final straw. Offshore workers lost all trust. The Super Puma's reputation was destroyed. The king of the skies had fallen. The industry faced a reckoning. Could the Super Puma ever fly again? Airbus had to act fast to save the Super Puma. They replaced the failed planetary gear with a tougher redesigned part. But the real breakthrough was a new ultrasonic inspection method, able to spot microscopic cracks deep inside the metal. They added ultra-sensitive chip detectors in the gearbox, warning pilots at the first sign of trouble. Airbus also shortened the lifespan of critical gears, replacing them long before they could fail. These changes created a multi-layered safety net. The Super Puma's gearbox became one of the most scrutinized in aviation. Airbus poured resources into proving the helicopter was safe. On paper, the H-225 was now safer than ever. But would that be enough to win back trust? The technical fixes were impressive. The real challenge was convincing people to fly again. The battle for hearts and minds had just begun. Even with all the engineering fixes, Airbus faced a bigger challenge: rebuilding trust. Offshore workers were deeply shaken. The Super Puma's name was toxic. Unions demanded a ban, and companies hesitated to bring it back. Airbus launched a massive outreach campaign: town halls, factory tours, and open quandas. Some operators outside the North Sea slowly reintroduced the helicopter, swayed by upgrades and discounts. In Asia and Eastern Europe, the H-225 found new roles. But in the North Sea, resistance was fierce. Oil companies and unions refused to budge, even after regulators cleared the helicopter. The court of public opinion had spoken. Trust, once lost, was nearly impossible to restore. The Super Puma's comeback was far from certain. Pilots see the H-225 as a thoroughly improved, safe machine. They trust the engineering, the new safety systems, and the rigorous maintenance. For them, the Super Puma is stronger than ever. But for offshore workers, it's a different story. Memories of past tragedies linger. Many refuse to board a Super Puma, no matter what the experts say. The fear is real, and unions reflect that anxiety. Years after recertification, distrust remains, especially in the North Sea. The divide between cockpit confidence and cabin fear is stark. Technical fixes can't erase emotional scars. The Super Puma's biggest obstacle isn't mechanical, it's psychological. What's next for the Super Puma? In the North Sea, its days as a passenger workhorse are likely over. Trust is gone and rivals have taken its place. But elsewhere, the H-225 is finding new life. It's used for heavy-lift construction, firefighting, and military transport. Its technical strengths and safety upgrades make it attractive in roles where its past isn't as haunting. The Super Puma's story is a lesson in engineering, trust, and reputation. Airbus fixed the flaws, but some wounds never heal. The helicopter will keep flying, but its path is forever changed. It won't regain its old dominance, but it will serve new masters in new skies. The Super Puma is defined by both tragedy and redemption. It's a symbol of how even the best machines can fail, and how engineers fight to make them better. Its comeback is real, but not the one anyone expected. The Super Puma soars again, but with a legacy that can never be erased. Its story is a powerful reminder: trust, once lost, is the hardest thing to rebuild.